Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. Today I have 10 underrated horror films that I would recommend you checking out this Halloween season. Hi guys, welcome back. Like I said, I just have 10 movies here to recommend you checking out during Halloween. Maybe you've seen some of these, maybe you haven't. I would recommend checking them out if you haven't. Obviously, this is my personal pick of movies. And yeah, you might disagree with some of them. You might think some of them are not underrated. You might think some are actually underrated. But I figured I'll just kind of, pull 10 movies that I think that aren't talked about a lot. And I'll just kind of like jump into them. So this is also in no particular order, but starting off, I have the movie here, House of Wax. Now, this is the remake, I believe, from 2005. That I feel like people have seen this film, but it's been a while since I've seen this, but I do remember it very well, and it was a lot of fun. It was just such a fun remake, kind of like gory and gritty, and I love that about this movie. I think that the original one obviously is a classic, but this is, for a remake, this is fantastic. The next one here, this is one that I watched a few months ago, I want to say. And this is one that actually the DVD is kind of hard to find. I don't know if it's out of print or not, but that is the movie Inside. I believe this is a French film. So it does have French subtitles, or I should say English subtitles. It is in French or France. But the concept of the movie is fantastic. It's I don't want to say really anything about these films without spoiling anything, so I'm just going to say, if you are curious, maybe go look up the plot synopsis of it, because it's fantastic. It's really gory, really almost frustrating, and it just kind of makes you just, I don't know, curl up. So probably not for everyone. If you're not really into gory horror movies, I would not recommend this one. But if you are and you've not seen this one, I would highly recommend checking this out this Halloween season. The next one here, this is another foreign title, I believe, also French, I'm not sure, but that is the film High Tension. This is another one that I had a lot of fun with. I think it's there's a lot of twists throughout the whole film, which I really do love. And it was also kind of gory. And yeah, I really, really enjoyed this. This is one that I feel like not a lot of people talk about. I've seen it on lists for different horror movies and whatnot, but this is definitely one that I don't think enough people have seen. The next one here is a film that is a great sci-fi horror movie. And it's been a couple of years since I've seen this one, but it also has stuck with me in my mind since I've seen it. And I remember it being very, very good. And maybe it's changed because it's probably been, I don't know, 4 years or so since I've seen this movie. But it has stuck with me. And for that, I am recommending the film Pandorum. This is another one that I feel like, I don't know, people always talk about, Event Horizon as a great sci-fi horror film, but this one I also feel like is another great movie that's not a ton of people have seen. Maybe, I don't really know. I just don't hear it talked about a lot, so I would definitely recommend checking that out. The next one is one that, this is technically a double feature, I guess. It could be if you want it to be. This is one that I watched not too long ago, but this is actually from Vestron Video, and that is the film The Dentist. And if you liked the first one, you could always check out the second one, because if you get this particular Blu-ray, it has the first and the second film in there. But I genuinely loved the movie. I liked actually both of them a lot. I feel like they were a lot of fun. And I can't tell you, I'm pretty sure nobody out there likes The Dentist. And if you do, you're in the 1% of the population that does. But if you obviously, for most of us, we don't like going to the dentist, and this movie plays on all of those like fears of, you know, drilling in your mouth and stuff, and it's again gory. So if you're not into gory movies, I would not recommend checking this out. But just a fun like dentist horror movie. The next one is, I feel like this one's probably one of the better well-known films on this list. And yeah, so probably a lot of people have seen this, but I figured I'd throw it in there because I feel like when you're talking about like kind of ghost stories, I feel like this movie doesn't necessarily get brought up a whole lot. And that is the film The Changeling. So this is a film put out by Severin Films, and this is a really nice 4K restoration of the movie. And it is, yeah, it's just, I mean, George C. Scott is in it, which is fantastic. And it's just a great, like, ghost story, kind of, like haunted house type of situation. And, yeah, I would highly recommend checking this out if you have not seen it this Halloween season. And the next one, I actually saw this in theaters at like a small, where was it? I think it was in Cleveland. I think I had to drive up to the Cleveland area of Ohio to see this in like kind of like a, I don't know, like 20-person theater. It was very small. But I'm very glad that I did, because this in theaters was fantastic. And that is the remake of Suspiria. So this is one that I'm sure a lot of horror fans have seen. This would look amazing on 4K. I wish that we got a nice 4K of this. But this is one that a lot of people talk about the original film, but I feel like the remake of it is, you know, fantastic. It's like, in my opinion, it is just as good, but in a different way. Both are fantastic films. I feel like this basically kind of strips away what makes like a giallo like film. Like it takes away like the bright colors and like the vibrance of it, and just kind of like makes it very like neutral, and kind of brings it down to earth a little bit. And I think that's what makes this movie like terrifying. It just kind of feels very real. And especially the end scene when the whole screen goes red. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. That whole sequence is fantastic. But yeah, I would highly recommend checking this out, especially if you were a fan of the original Suspiria, or just like that like type of movie. I would highly recommend like checking out this one as well. The next one, I actually talked about this a couple days ago in a live stream. And yeah, I figured that, you know, I'm sure there's people out there who obviously have seen this film, but I would also recommend it to people who have not seen it. And that is the movie Hacken. This is from 1922. So it is like a black and white silent Swedish film. But it's also like a lot of fun. And this was actually like I'm very glad that Criterion went back and like put this out on a nice like Blu-ray edition, because this is a film that, like, you know, I mean, being from 1922, almost 100 years old, it was, or over 100 years old, I'm sorry. I feel like it is a, just like a classic for like horror genre, and I would highly recommend checking it out, especially if you're just like into like black and white horror, such as like Nosferatu, or like any of the Universal monster movies, or I'm trying to think, like Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, or Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, stuff like that, like really old black and white horror. I would highly recommend checking this out. Yeah, it's just a great movie. And the next one, I kind of, like, this kind of breaks my rule of having only 10 films, but this is kind of also a double feature if you want it to be. This is a vampire movie, but the one that I'm going to recommend out of these two, I would say, is Let the Right One In. So it is a vampire film. It's fantastic. It's just, I don't know. It's a great, like, it's about like a kid that's a vampire. So great. And then there is like, this is what language? Spanish. So this is a Spanish film. And then they made an American remake of the film. So I would recommend both. They're both fantastic, both great movies. Obviously the original one's going to have some more, I don't know, like more nostalgia to it, I guess is the right word. But if you really do enjoy this one, I would highly recommend checking this one out. Or you can just watch them back to back, because they're both great, like vampire movies. And I'm usually not like super into vampire films. It's kind of my, out of all the different subgenres of horror, that's might be like the least interesting to me. But I do, both of those films were fantastic. And the last one I'm going to recommend, because I don't really hear a lot of people talking about this movie, and I think people should, because this movie is amazing. And that is the film from, let's see, 2006, the movie Black Sheep. This is about exactly what the cover makes it out to be. Like, so, killer sheep. It is fantastic. I would highly recommend checking this movie out. It is so much fun. And yeah, if you just have a bunch of, buddies over and you're just wanting to watch something a little gory, a little scary, something fun in the Halloween spirit, I would highly recommend checking out Black Sheep. I feel like this would be a great movie to watch with a bunch of friends. And that is all of the films that I would recommend for you to check out to this Halloween season. Obviously, there are so many other movies that I could have added to that list. It was hard to keep it down to only 10. And I'm sure as soon as I stop recording, I'm going to think of, 5 more that I could have talked about. But let me know in the comments down below if there's any films that you would recommend that you feel are underrated, or I guess give your opinion about the films that I picked out. I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts. I always like interacting with you guys. So yeah. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really do appreciate it. And I will see you guys all in the next video. Bye.